Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Pause and Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. Welcome to season 3, guys, and also Happy New Year, because when you're listening to this, it will be 2025. When I'm recording this, it is still 2024, so crazy. But anyway, yeah, Happy New Year, welcome to season 3, exciting times. I thought I would start the new year off with a new season of the podcast, even though season 1 had way more episodes than season 2. From now on, I'm going to do each year as a season, I think, as it just makes sense, doesn't it? And it's nice to kind of look back on the different seasons as kind of different years of, you know, both my life and agility as a sport. But I thought that was a good idea. So exciting, season 3, first episode. And yeah, I hope everyone had a great Christmas. It was 2 weeks ago since I last spoke to you guys on here because I had a break. Obviously, last Wednesday was Christmas Day. But yeah, I had a great time over Christmas. Lots of food was consumed as usual. Lots of time with friends and family. My favourite time of the year. Yes, I'm sad it's over. I can't wait for next Christmas already. Yes, I am that person. I'm obsessed with Christmas. It tops every other time of the year. Fight me. But let me just do a little recap of the past 2 weeks for you guys, as we do every episode. Not too much to say because obviously it was Christmas, so mostly doing Christmassy things. But I did hire Ogilvy for training Arrow, and you probably all saw on social media, he basically went lame afterwards. Like, I got him out, he looked a little bit like he was walking with a strange gait. Like after when I was walking him back to the van and cooling him down and stuff like that after the session, like he didn't show any signs while he was doing the agility. And I was like, you're joking, there can't be, I'm just better with my foot now. There cannot be something else. Like can't cope. So I panicked all the way home in my brain, hoping he'd just, because it's happened before, he's very dramatic. If he's just like bumped something, he'll be dramatic about it and then be fine. But he was just as lame when we got him home, and then the next morning he was even worse. However, before the next morning, we checked his paws, obviously, and he'd scuffed his pad. He's basically taken like a layer off his pad, so he's obviously burnt it on the Astro, or he did. This was a week ago now, exactly a week yesterday. I'm recording this on a Monday, yeah. So that was almost a relief, because I was like, okay, good, he hasn't pulled a muscle or done something physically like that. So in a way, I was like, well, yeah, I was really relieved. But he still was very lame, and I was like, surely he's not that lame over something like that, just a little bit. It's like, I suppose, it didn't look like, it's not like he ripped the entire pad off his paw or anything, but it was red raw, if that makes sense, but just a section of it, kind of like at the back of his pad. So I was like, well, would that even properly touch the floor? But I suppose, and he was more lame as he was when he kind of walked faster or got more speed up, he was more lame. So I think that's when his paws will have spread, and obviously that sore bit would have touched the floor. And I suppose, as you can imagine, that would be very sore, especially on concrete, and he was worse outside on the concrete than he was in the house on the carpet, so it all made sense. Still ended up taking him to the vets because I was like, well, if he gets worse over Christmas, not only it'll be a stress, I want peace of mind right now, but also the vet bills out of hours over Christmas will be not good. So we took him to the vet, she felt him over, couldn't feel anything wrong, moved his joints and arms, legs and shoulders around and stuff like that, his wrist, and he didn't react. And she had a look at his pad and said, yeah, it's probably that. So we basically just looked after his pad so it healed, put a little sock on him when he was going outside, and put some Sudocrem on his pad to soothe it and help it heal. And within a couple of days, he'd stopped limping completely, and now you can see the pad's healing up really well. It looks like it's pretty much healed. So yeah, he's fine now. A week later, literally took like another day or two and he would stop limping, and it's healed over nicely. So that was a huge relief. But at the time I was like, my Jesus, this cannot be happening. Another thing cannot be happening to us. But anyway, so that was that. Then obviously we had Christmas, which was amazing. I taught my first one-to-one, guys. I can't remember if I said this in the last update. No, I probably didn't, because it was 2 weeks ago. I am officially fully self-employed. That is now my only source of income. That is my job, which is a pinch me moment, because I've been waiting for this day since I started working at McDonald's when I was 18 years old. I'm now 23 and I'm finally fully self-employed. I'm still only making a part-time wage off of being self-employed, but I've literally only just started within like maybe the past dog walking within the past maybe not very long, like month, 2 months. And then obviously my online coaching has been going on a few months now, but I've only just started booking people in for lessons. And I've got I think I've got 10 one-to-ones booked in for January. I had my first one the other day and it went so well. And I just came away thinking so great, like feeling so grateful, thinking, you know, I can't believe this is my job. Like, this has always been my dream. Like, it was a full circle moment. I was, you know, it sounds really cringy, but I was just proud in that moment. And I know it hasn't turned into a full-time job yet, but, you know, I'm making it happen. It's starting out, and if it doesn't work out long term, then it doesn't. But at the moment, it's going well. One-to-ones are busy, and I'm starting teaching at the Field of Dreams classes. I think the 16th of January is my first class, and that will be 3 days a week there, which is amazing. And then that's on top of my one-to-ones, and also I've still got all of my amazing online coaching students and my dog walking clients as well. I love dog walking. I could do that full time. Like, dog walking is so, like, it's such a chill, nice job. I know it wouldn't be if it was chucking it down, but the weather's been so nice here over the past like week or so. And yeah, I just enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work. None of it feels like work to me. And I love teaching people agility and watching the dogs progress. It's amazing. So that happened, which is amazing. And that is the most exciting thing about 2025 for me is, you know, seeing how my business grows, which is awesome. So that is my little update, foot update. We're doing well. I'm back to everything. I've been really bad. I know in the past podcast episode, I said that I would try and start running. I have not. I've procrastinated it a little bit. I am a little bit scared. It still aches a little bit when I walk a lot, but that's to be expected. I can do my heel raises, all of that. I'm pretty much pain-free 98% of the time, bar some days when I do a lot of walking. Like I had a busy weekend out and about and it did ache after that, but again, it wears off with rest. And yeah, it's maybe like a 2 on the scale of 1 to 10 pain-wise. So yeah, it's all good with that. I do need to start running. But obviously with Arrow, I was going to do it. We were meant to be at Dog Sports Derby today training, hiring it. But obviously with Arrow's pad, I was like, you know what, let's just give him a few weeks, because I just don't want to risk anything making anything worse or anything coming out of that or anything like that, which I'm sure you guys understand. So I haven't actually tried running yet, but I have to start. I might try, I think I'm going to try on the treadmill at the gym first this week, and I'll keep you guys updated on that. But yeah, I do need to just start. I know it'll be fine, but I'm procrastinating. It's been like three months now, over 3 months since I've last ran, so it's a big deal, but we're going to do it. But that's my little update. So into today's episode, it's basically a welcome to season 3 episode with a Q&A, because it is also the first week of a new month and also a new year and a new season. So it's an extra special episode today. So yeah, in this episode, I will be answering your Q&A questions that you guys ask me over on Instagram as every month, and I will be speaking about topics such as maintaining motivation, dealing with anxious agility dogs, and much more. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. I have 15 of your guys' questions here to answer, so let's dive into the first one, which is, how did you help Arrow's anxiety or nerves and improve his confidence? My dog doesn't like going wrong. This is very relatable, and this is exactly how Arrow was and still is, to be honest. He still doesn't like going wrong, but, you know, the work we've done has meant that he can now deal with it better. So again, I'm not saying these things work for every single dog with this issue, but this is what I did with Arrow and it worked. So work him through his nerves. I just kept going through it. I think it helped that I only had him as my agility dog, so it was either keep going with him and work him through those nerves, those runs where he was nearly walking around and stuff, in a bid to, you know, hopefully think it'll hopefully one day just click, and he won't be so scared. He'll realise that it's not going to harm him and it's actually quite enjoyable, and it did. So I just kept pushing, I kept working through it. I kind of faced it instead of, you know, just taking him out of the situation as soon as I saw a sign of him not being cooperative or not enjoying it. I just thought, no, there's more to him. Like, kind of just knew there was more in there than what he was giving me. I was like, there's no way this is him. Like, I understood with lockdown and stuff happening when he was a puppy, he didn't get the socialisation because I physically couldn't legally do it. Or safely do it as well. So I knew why it was happening, or at least, you know, I mean, I think it's his character as well, but that definitely didn't help. So I was like, I'm not giving up on this because I know there's so much potential in there, and he's had a really rough start with external circumstances, and I want to see what's in there, you know, what could have been if those circumstances hadn't happened at that time. And I did, and it paid off. You know, I didn't have the choice was quit agility or carry on working him through it. So I worked him through it, and it paid off. Also, gradually expose him to new environments. So you want to, you know, train and do stuff agility-wise in new environments frequently, but also just take them to new environments, like not to do agility, just like general socialisation. And you want to keep up socialisation into your dog's adulthood as well, especially if they're of a nervous disposition. Take them everywhere with you, as many places you can. Get them to meet as many people and other dogs and animals and situations and noises as you can, like you would a puppy. But even though if your dog is an adult, because they are a nervous dog and they need just the same exposure to get used to things. But obviously don't do it all at once, don't do it too quickly, gradually increase it, obviously. Don't just throw your dog straight in, but, you know, in increments, you know, expose them to more things, you know, more noises, more places. And yeah, also never tell him off for doing something wrong. There's a difference between telling your dog off for doing something wrong and just saying, oopsie, let's try again, if that makes sense. So err on the side of, oopsie, let's try again. Don't get mad, don't get annoyed, don't tell him off, because that's just going to knock his confidence more. Please don't do that. I know it's frustrating when things aren't going how we want them to in training and the dog's not responding like we want them to, but do not tell them off. That won't help them. You also want to set them up for success. So, for example, don't ask him for something that is too difficult at this stage. So be realistic, know what's achievable, and what your dog will be able to do right now. Keep your expectations realistic. I think I just said that 3 times, but it is really important. So by asking him for things that you know he can do, then, you know, you're setting him up for success and to get praise and reward, and not to have his confidence knocked because he thinks he's gone wrong. And yes, you have to every now and again push for a bit more, you know, test them. You know, when you're teaching them new things, failure is all a part of that. You can't avoid them failing. They are going to fail, but if he's really, really struggling at this very moment, you want to build his confidence by focusing on the things he can do. And then once he's got that a bit more confidence, you can, you know, do more and push for more and try more, and risk failure more because, you know, he won't respond negatively to it. But for now, try and set him up for success. Also keep corrections to a minimum. So if you know he won't weave in competition, so if you've been to competition a few times and he hasn't weaved, or he's, you know, just done 9 weaves and then shut down or whatever, don't make him do so. So don't make him weave in competition again until you've perfected the weaves in training. So when Arrow was having a issue with his weaves and he was walking through them and he was always coming out the 10th one, I removed him from that competition setting for a while. Not that long, but long enough where I could go away and drill the weaves in a training setting. until I was happy with where they were at in training, and then I could gradually introduce them into competition. And that was after training them in the garden, then training them at a field, then training them in a group training, and then taking them to competition, if that makes sense. You also want to find the reinforcer that motivates your dog the most, so a certain toy or treat. And this will just not only, make him want to work more because he really wants this reward, but it will also take his mind off his nerves because he's got something else to focus on that he's interested in. So, if your dog's obsessed with fish like Arrow and he's got a big fat fish in front of his nose in a situation that makes him nervous, he's going to be thinking more about that fish, hopefully, or whatever really motivates him, than he is about what's going on around him. And again, not every dog will be bothered about reinforcers compared to what's going on around them, but for Arrow that worked. Also have a consistent pre-run and start line routine to keep him comfortable and knowing what to expect. So if your pre-run routine and what you do when you get into the ring on the start line is the same every single time, this will really comfort him because he's staying in his comfort zone. He knows what to expect. The unknown is scary for not only us humans, but also our dogs. So if he knows what you're going to ask of him and it's the same every time and he knows what's about to happen because of what's happening right now, that will really help and ease his mind. And you've also got to stay calm and confident yourself, which can be hard, I know, but try your best to stay calm and confident yourself around your dog and in an agility setting, especially because our dogs do feed off our emotions. So try your best to do that and pass that confidence and that calmness and that reassurance that everything right now is fine to your dog. And finally, expose him to agility environments without actually doing the agility. So this is This is kind of annoying because you have to go to shows and not run. But if you can go to shows and just walk him around, even carry him around, do some tricks by the ring, play by the ring, like stuff you do with a puppy that's not old enough to compete yet. It's that exposure, that socialisation, that getting used to the environment without putting the expectation on him that he has to work and do something that he finds scary. So if he goes to a show every time and he doesn't have to work, there's no pressure on him, it's all happy, chill, he'll learn to enjoy that environment and then you can introduce the work. So, work on the agility and the environment kind of separately and then merge them once they're solid separately, if that makes sense. So the next question is, what are your 2025 goals? So I think I did cover this a little bit in the last episode, but I'll go over them again briefly. So my first goal is to obviously get selected for Team GB again, which I know is much harder this year because they aren't taking a development team. But we're going to give it our best shot. With minimal prep, it's not going to be easy, but that's always going to be one of my goals for every year, no matter the circumstances. It's more likely some years than others. This year it's probably less likely, but it's still always going to be one of my yearly goals. Second goal is to win a champ ticket. I know absolutely me and Arrow can win a champ ticket. It's just got to happen. Qualify for and run at Olympia. Obviously, I want to qualify for Olympia again so we can actually run at it this time because we qualified for last year's now and couldn't run because of my foot. So I want to experience running at Olympia. Qualify for all YKC classes at Crufts 2026 because it is my last year in the YKC, which is unreal to say and really, really sad. But this year is my last year to try and qualify for YKC classes because next year I'll be too old. So next year will be my last 2026 will be my last year competing at Crufts in YKC. So I want to get all the classes qualified for again, just for that last hurrah kind of thing. And then I'm too old. Which is insane. Anyway, qualify for a non-YKC class at Crufts 2026. I want to get in that main arena in a non-YKC event. Qualify for Team GB tryouts 2026. So obviously the process is a bit different this year. There are shows throughout this year that you have to go to that go towards the tryout process and getting onto that in 2026 for the 2026 team. So I'm going to go to those shows and I want to qualify for the tryout process for Team GB in 2026 through the shows this year. And then away from competing, I obviously want to grow my business and eventually make it a full-time income. Might not be this year necessarily, but that's what I'm working towards. And also, obviously, to keep growing this podcast. getting more guests on and everything that I have been doing basically, but carrying it into the next year. I like this question. How much food did you eat over Christmas? All of it. All of the Christmas food was devoured. I'm a huge foodie, and I think that's another reason why Christmas is my very favourite time of the year, because it's all about the food, and I'm so here for that. The next one is, what judging appointments have you got lined up? So far, the only ones that I am certain I'm doing are Inspire in January, February and March. I was meant to do all of the Inspires since October, but obviously I couldn't because my foot happened late September. So I'm excited to finally be able to judge again as well. I don't know if you can hear that. That's my stomach rumbling. Anyway, Agility Nuts in April, Agility Vision at Easter time, Whirlwind in June, and that is everything so far, because everything else I've been invited to, and I have been invited to quite a few, that I've had to turn down because it clashes with events I want to compete in. For example, KCI, I was invited to judge at KCI, but every single one of the 4 days has something I want to compete in to qualify for something, whether that's Champ, Crufts, YKC, anything like that. So those are the ones that you probably also realise that I don't compete in at those shows as much. There's nothing at those shows I just listed that I want to specifically compete in with Arrow. And obviously I'll always prioritise my competing over judging. So I do like judging, obviously. And I love designing courses. And I'll take the judging appointments when they don't interfere with my competing in events, but when I'm always going to put competing first. But those are the ones that I've got coming up, so if any of you are at any of those, then get excited for my killer courses that I haven't made yet. But anyway, so what is something that you're proud of from 2024? This is the best question. So there's a few things. I am going to list a few things, not all of them. I have already done my end of year post on social media, so if you follow me on social media you will see that, listing all of my achievements throughout the year, at Pause in Pursuit, if you want to go have a look and you don't already follow me. But the absolute highlights are obviously starting the year strong by winning Crufts, winning the YKC Agility Dog of the Year final in the main arena at Crufts. That was our first Crufts competing in the main arena as well, and we won every event but one, and that one was just a pole at that Crufts, and yeah, it was just a surreal few days. Like, honestly, you can't top it. Obviously getting on Team GB with Arrow, and that was my debut on the adult Team GB, and also Arrow's GB debut in general. And competing at EO for Team GB was a massive, wow, I'm proud of this achievement. Obviously launching my businesses. I've always known I wanted to be self-employed, and this was the year that I properly took the plunge and made it happen. Created a solid base of online coaching students. I've got classes lined up that are full for January teaching, and I've got people wanting one-to-ones that are booked in. So I'm really proud of myself for making that happen, even though being self-employed and starting businesses and and the dog walking as well, getting clients, figuring all that out, how much to charge and stuff, all of it is a difficult sort of process, but I'm proud that I've started it up, I've made it happen, I've got the wheels turning, or the ball rolling, as they say. The podcast growth as well. The podcast has really grown this year. In season 2, I've really hit it hard with guests, getting more guests on, getting more frequent guests on. And now the Christmas period is over, I am going to start reaching out to more guests for podcast episodes in the new year, which is really exciting. So I'm proud of coming back as well from everything. Like last year, I was easing out of everything. I just had my Achilles injury. I thought I was pursuing social media as a career, and then I realised that agility is where it's at for me, and I missed the podcast and all that. And I brought the podcast back, and now it's doing better than it was before that break, which I'm proud of. And yeah, the last one is obviously dealing with and staying positive or semi-positive through my injury. So the past 3 months have been, and this sounds awful because I know so many worse things happen to people in life than a broken metatarsal, but agility is my life, and breaking your foot really, really kind of gets in the way of that, obviously. And it really, really did impact me mentally and physically and everything. Like, I basically was stuck in my room for a lot of those months. Couldn't drive, couldn't go out unless someone took me. It was horrible. Couldn't go to the gym, had to work out in my room, which I did get into a fine routine with, but it wasn't the same. It's not the same seeing the same four walls. I was still at my old job, working online, so I was literally, it was horrible feeling. Anyway, I'm proud of myself for getting through the past 3 months and keeping going through those 3 months, keeping pursuing my goals and looking to when I'm better and what I want to achieve, and not letting things sort of fall off because I couldn't cope with it, if that makes sense. So I'm proud of myself for that. Would not wish that on my worst enemy, and I hope it never happens again, but we did it. Next one is, how do you stay motivated to pursue your goals, and any time management tips? So as I always say, I don't always feel motivated. I believe in discipline over motivation always. It's impossible to feel motivated all the time. Don't think anyone does. That's not normal, and it's not human. Some days I wake up and I'm motivated to do everything and I have loads of energy. Other days I get up and I think I don't want to really get out of bed, to be honest. I kind of just want to sit in my bed and eat and watch Netflix. But discipline means that I get up and do the things that push me towards my goals anyway, because that's part of the process. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do have, and you should allow, days where you don't pursue your goals, where you do just chill, watch Netflix and eat. And I have those days too. Especially over Christmas, you need that, otherwise you burn out. Been there, done that. But in general, you just have to be disciplined and know what you need to do to achieve your goals. It helps knowing a set route and what you have to do on a day-to-day basis to get to your goals. You know, if you don't have a structure there, you won't know what to do, and not knowing what to do means you'll procrastinate and you just won't do it. So having a clear plan laid ahead of you makes it easier to be motivated in a way. Also, to remember your why and visualise the end goal of what you're trying to achieve. So imagine how it'd feel and how much better, how would your life be better once you achieve that goal? How much better would you feel when you achieve that goal? What would achieving that goal mean to you? Remind yourself of that, and that will really make you think, oh, I need to get there, because I can't wait for that feeling. Make the process of striving towards your goals enjoyable, sustainable and realistic. Like I said just now, don't hammer yourself. Give yourself time off. Don't do too much. Don't overdo it. Don't be too strict on yourself. Make working towards your goal something you enjoy doing, because if you don't enjoy it, then is achieving the goal really worth it? If the whole process, which is actually longer than the achievement in itself, awful. Do you know what I mean? So make sure that you are enjoying the process. And you can keep it up over time, because it does take time to achieve goals, and also realistic. So if you work a really hectic 9 to 5, then, achieving your goals might take longer, and that's absolutely fine. Just be realistic and accept that, instead of putting, pressure on yourself to achieve it quicker, like someone who didn't have a hectic 9 to 5 job would. So be nice to yourself about it, really. Time management wise, I couldn't live without scheduling my day. Literally in my notes, I have my day planned out with check boxes to check off as I do things. Some people might think that's freaky and OCD, and maybe it is, but I love it, and it really helps me be productive in a day. So I schedule my day the night before the day, or in the morning while I'm eating my breakfast, either or, whatever's most convenient, so that I know exactly what I'm doing throughout the day. And again, it goes back to that, it makes it easier. So it's less effort, so you don't need as much motivation to do it. It's just laid out there for you to get on with, if that makes sense. Prioritise tasks as well. So while you're creating that schedule, the most important tasks you want to get done first. You want to make sure that they're done. Just get them done. Don't leave them till the evening when you probably have no energy and stuff like that. And treat your tasks like appointments you have with someone else. For example, doctor's appointment or a work meeting, or anything where if you didn't show up and do that thing, someone else would frown upon you or be disappointed in you, or it'd have a really negative impact if you missed a doctor's appointment or a work meeting, or even going to coffee with someone. If you just didn't show up because you couldn't be bothered, that's you might lose a friend if you do that a few times. So treat all your tasks that just you have to do just like that. And that really helps as well mentally. So the next question is, are you still doing your dog grooming course? So the answer is no. So I actually wasn't enjoying that course. And I just realised that it wasn't what I authentically wanted to do with my life. A lot of people have told me in the past, you get through a lot of things. You seem to do a lot of things and then stop doing them and do something else. And yes, I do, because what's the point in, I try and think, what's the point in doing something if you realise that you don't like it or it's not for you? You may as well move on quickly and find something that you actually do like and is for you. Why waste time? So as soon as I realised that, and I did give it a good few months, and I was like, this isn't getting any better. Let's get out of this and do something else. And now I'm in a place where I'm doing something that I enjoy. So basically. So the next question, have you ever competed in Scotland? No, I haven't, but I would like to. There's a Scottish show that is part of the 2026 GB tryout process. That list of shows I was on about during 2025 that goes towards trying out for GB 2026. And one of those shows is a Scottish show that I've never been to. So I'd like to do that. But if I was to do it, I would like to make a holiday out of it. So maybe go down with some family and make kind of a Scottish holiday out of it. Have a few days before or after, exploring the place that I'm in. Because I went to Edinburgh when I was little, but I can't really remember any of it. So I would like to see Scotland. But yeah, I don't think I'd go. I've always said I don't think I'd go to a Scottish or Irish show or anything like that just purely to go compete and come back. I'd want to make a bit of a thing of it, because I feel like that'd take the pressure off as well, because you wouldn't be thinking I have to do well now because I've come all this way. I've travelled like 8 hours. I've spent loads of money to come here. But if you've come as if, you would go there anyway for a holiday, even if you weren't competing, I think that'd set my mindset up a lot better. But yeah, I would definitely like to do that. How are you finding the self-employed life, and how do you know how much to charge for your services? I think this is something every self-employed person goes, at some point. But how am I finding it? So far, I love it. I love the freedom, independence, and doing something that I really enjoy and I'm genuinely interested in getting up and doing in the morning. As well as being outdoors, I'm an outdoorsy person. Dog walking and agility is outdoors. I've been lucky with the weather so far. I know I'm going to have some miserable days when the weather's bad, but it's really nice to be out in the fresh air. It just makes me feel good. So the setup is fab. I've always known I wanted to work for myself and not have a boss, just kind of who I am at the core. To be honest, not having 100% secure income can be scary, but in my opinion, the pros are worth the cons, as with anything. But again, that's everyone's different with their opinion on that. As far as what to charge, I'd start by researching what others providing the same service as you charge in your area. In your area is important because every part of the country is different. So research that, and then I'd say start on the lower end, as you are a new business and the goal is to get clients first, and then you can increase over time. You don't want to put people off coming to you because you're too expensive, and you can always increase over time with experience. And also, you aren't very experienced at the moment because you've only just started. So it makes sense to increase with experience and clients and stuff like that. Another thing, though, is don't sell yourself short. So recognise your talents, achievements and experience, and understand how they make your services so valuable. So for me, I'm thinking I can charge a decent amount of money for my services because I have all the experience I do and the achievements, and I've been doing it a long time. So recognise that. Don't sell yourself too short. So the next one is, what would you do differently if you could redo 2024, and do you have any regrets? This one's interesting. The first thing that springs to mind is that I wouldn't overdo exercise and my body physically to prevent my stress fracture. Obviously, I'm thinking, well, if I hadn't overdone exercise, I could have prevented my injury for the past 3 months, but I can't say I regret it, to be honest. It's taught me a lot and made me realise I can get through things like that. And it's also taught me, I kind of had to go through that to learn not to do it again, in a way. It was just one of those things that I think had to happen. I'm planning a post more on that and my experience of having that injury and how it impacted me and stuff like that, coming soon to social media. And I might make it into a full podcast episode, to be honest. In fact, I probably will. But yeah, I don't regret it. I wouldn't do it differently because I think everything happens for a reason, as cliche as that sounds. And I do think that particular thing had to happen to me at that time and in my situation. Otherwise, I never would have learned. I'm one of those people that kind of has to learn the hard way. I don't know if I call it curiosity, but I'm like, I think this might be fine, or I'm sure this will be fine, or, you don't know until you try. So I always try, and then if it goes wrong, I learn that I shouldn't have done that and I won't do it again. But I don't regret it, but I suppose that's what I would do if I did that whole year over. And I always say this, but I would also try to have a more relaxed approach to agility throughout the year and a more go-for-it mindset. That is something I've been trying to work on throughout the whole year, and it is really hard. In fact, it's harder than I thought it'd ever be to switch your mindset like that. But I think I was getting a bit better before I obviously had to stop competing because of my injury. But that is, again, something I would like to, and I'm going to try to take into 2025. But yeah, I suppose if I could do the year again, I would try and go in with a more relaxed approach. But that's pretty much it. I think the year went exactly as it was meant to. And I don't regret anything, which is good. The next question is, do you have plans for New Year's? So pretty standard, I'd say, for a New Year's. Obviously still not doing a ton of agility at the moment, and I usually train on a Wednesday, but obviously Wednesday is New Year's Day, so training is not on. Fair enough. So I will just be going down to the pub with family and friends on New Year's Eve, having a buffet for tea, and then a family dinner on New Year's Day. Now, fun fact, I don't actually drink anymore, or if I do, I have one. But I think in the last 3 months, I've had 2 very mildly alcoholic drinks, and it was a snowball. 2 snowballs on New Year's Eve because I don't know how to make them without alcohol, and someone else made them for me. So obviously I just dropped my phone on my face. Yes, I am laid in bed recording this and I just dropped my phone on my face. But yeah, I haven't drank for 3 months because I was feeling so awful mentally because of my injury. And alcohol just doesn't help that, does it? We all know that. Or at least it doesn't for me. I always feel worse afterwards. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to not for a while. I couldn't go out anyway. And I was like, because before I was maybe having a few drinks at the weekend at home with dinner or whatever. But I was like, I'm just not going to. And then as I've been going out more, I've carried that habit on, if that makes sense. And I just don't feel the urge anymore. So I've kind of realised as well, I can go to a pub or on a night out and not drink and still enjoy it. So that's what I'll be doing New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Still be joining in with all the festivities and celebrations, but I'll just be having my lime soda or something, So those are my plans for New Year's, and a little update on, I suppose, my life, not drinking anymore. Again, not saying it'll last forever, but that's kind of how it's materialised over the past 3 months from not going out, and then realising that I actually feel way better for it, so I'm going to continue. How do you deal with having very little time to prepare for a big event, for example, when returning from injury? So I'm going through this right now, as who asked this question probably knows. Obviously, I'm only just getting back to running right now, and it's January, and I have a month and a half until GB tryouts, and I haven't done proper agility for 3 months. Arrow, I think, is in a better place than I am because I have kept him running, but I've just been walking. So I have done, the nice thing is I have done what I can over the past 3 months. So it's not like I'm coming back from nothing. But the first thing to do, I think, is to accept the reality that this is how it is. There's nothing you can do about it now. However, from this moment forward, you can focus on what you can do and not what you can't or haven't been able to. So what can you do now until the big event to make your performance at said big event the best that it can possibly be under these circumstances? Okay, and be realistic with the time frame, and don't go into that event having unrealistic expectations. I'm going into GB tryouts with less of an expectation on a good performance than I would have if I'd had normal prep, because it'd be stupid to think that I'm going to perform just as well as if I'd been training and doing agility for the past 3 months. You know, understand the time frame and accept how long you've got and do what you can in that, but just keep remembering that that's all the time you had when you're at the event, and don't beat yourself up if you don't do as well as normal because of it. That's what I am trying to do. That's how I'm dealing with that, and it's always going to happen. I've been doing agility for like 12 years now, and this is the first time something like this has properly happened. Touch wood. I'm touching wood right now, by the way, guys. Not superstitious or anything, don't know what you're on about. So yeah, that is how I deal with that. If you're in that situation, I feel you, and you'll be fine, and you'll get through it, and in a year's time or less, it'll be a dim and distant memory. The next question is, how do you transfer your dog's skills from training to competition? Mine has them in training and then totally loses them in competition. This is very common, okay, especially with things like contact. So the first thing you want to focus on is generalization, and I've used this term so much. I heard this term so much in my canine behavior degree, it's unreal, which is to practice in lots of different venues and environments and locations, both, so train in different locations and also compete in different locations. Also, make sure your dog's skills are solid in training before taking them to competition. So if you haven't fully trained a running dog walk yet, don't take it into competition. If you haven't fully trained the wheeze yet, don't expect them to do it in competition. Because of course they're not going to have the skills there if they can't even do it in training, if that makes sense. Or they can only do it in training with the manners minder at the very end of the piece of equipment, and you've never sequenced it in a full course before. So make sure the skills can be done in a full course at training before you ask your dog to do it in a full course in competition. Because if they can't do it in a more chill, easier training environment, then why would you expect them to do what they can't even do in that environment in a way more hectic and distracting and difficult environment of a competition, if that makes sense. Also, don't be afraid to throw competition runs to prove skills, especially contact criteria and start line weights or routines, etc. Those are the most common. Contact criteria, if your dog doesn't hit their criteria in the ring at competition, you have to throw the run and take them back and redo it, unless you want that mistake to keep getting repeated, which, trust me, I did that with Ethel, and it's so frustrating. Kind of had to do it with Arrow with his seesaw, because it was the only way to get him to do a seesaw ever, by just I was just happy if he went over it. But in general, if you're having this issue with a dog who isn't like Arrow was under Arrow's circumstances, you need to be making sure that criteria is always hitting the ring. Same with start line weights. If your dog breaks a start line weight in competition, you have to throw the run and take them back and make them wait until you say okay. Just how it is, unfortunately, and it will pay off, trust me. Next question, we're getting to the end now, guys. So why did you stop pursuing social media as a career? Same as dog grooming, okay? I was not enjoying it, and I realised that it wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. Deep down, that wasn't what I wanted to do. You know when you just get the gut feeling, you kind of just know it's not for you. That, basically. I also didn't like, and still don't like, sitting at a desk all day long. It makes you feel sluggish. Being inactive, I'm telling you, makes you feel sluggish, especially because I'm a gym goer. I love the feeling of after being active and exercising. For whatever, some people hate it, I love it. I thrive off of that feeling. So the opposite to that, which is sitting at a desk all day working on my computer, makes me feel so like a piece of lard, basically. And it also bothered my back. A lot of you probably know I had a very dodgy back for like a year. About 3 or 4 years ago now, I think. 4 years ago? I can't remember. Something like that. And sometimes it still bothers me to this day. I think the shape of my back doesn't help that. My lower back, and sitting at a desk all day makes it hurt and flares it up, which we hate. It's fine, even for an hour or whatever, but 5 hours at a desk all day, even with little breaks or whatever, just not good for the back. And I think that goes for anyone really. Never mind with someone who had a back issue previously, if that makes sense. So the last question then, guys, is what is the best and worst part of having 3 months off competing in your experience? So the best parts of having 3 months off competing in my experience, and that's I haven't come back to competition yet, but the best parts would be the mental and physical break, which a lot of people choose to do anyway over winter. So in a sense, I could just pretend that's what I was doing, right? I so meant to have 3-month break. No, I'm joking. But yeah, it does give you that mental and physical break. It's good. That will help prevent burnout mentally. You're not going to get sick of it if you stop for a while. And it also helps prevent further injury or injury in the first place. If you give your body a break from sport, obviously. So that's good. It also made me miss it and want me to come back. Because when you do something week in, week out for years, you can get a bit complacent and it's not got that same excitement and spark. So not doing it for a while, really makes you miss it and want to come back and realise what you kind of realise that how good it is, if that makes sense. You know how they say you kind of don't realise what you've got until it's gone? With agility, that's similar. It's kind of just part of your life and it's normal and you don't think much of it. And then when it's not there, you're suddenly like, oh, I really miss it. It also gave me a real drive to come back and do it again. So obviously the drive to come back and do that thing that I miss is going to be stronger after I haven't done it for a while. So they're the best parts. And then obviously the worst parts, you feel like you're going backwards, taking steps back and losing progress, which is a horrible feeling. Same with the gym. A lot of people have with the gym where if you take like a week off or 2 weeks off for a holiday or you're ill, you think you're losing progress, going backwards. All the progress you made is getting undone and going to waste. That is not the case. Yes, me and Arrow might be a bit rusty. We're most likely going to be a bit rusty when we come back. But when you've been doing something for so long, especially, it comes back. I think it's like riding a bike. I remind myself this happened last year with my Achilles tendonitis, and I didn't do agility for a few months properly, running anyway. And then I came back and I had the best year of my life in agility and of my career and the most success. So, you also feel like you've lost your... Let me start that again. You also feel like you've lost a part of yourself and... also your identity a little bit. So when something is your entire life, then, and you suddenly can't do it, you do feel like you've lost your identity a bit. You have a bit of an identity crisis. I felt like I lost a huge part of myself. It kind of felt a bit empty and it is quite a scary feeling, but you just got to remember that it isn't forever. And there are still ways to keep in with it and do little bits. And, again, it's about doing what you can and focusing on that instead of focusing on what you've lost or what you can't do. And another obvious bad point is that you just miss doing it. It's not a nice feeling to miss something that you enjoy when you can't do it, is it? But it is just one of those things. So, guys, that is all the questions. Let me tell you what's coming up. So, in the next week, I have 4 more one-to-one lessons with people. So, that's exciting. And like I said, I'm also going to be running. I'm going to start. I've got to start. I have to start. Make me start. Remind me. If you're listening to this right now, send me a message on Instagram and be like, Summer, start running. Okay? Thank you. But yeah, that is it, guys. You know the drill. If you like this episode or you like the podcast in general or you're just feeling generous and you want to give good vibes going into the new year, please do leave the podcast a 5-star rating and review, ideally on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And make sure you're following it because I have so many cool episode ideas coming up, including lots of guests that I think you guys will love. And also follow me on all the social medias at Pause in Pursuit or Summer Clark or both. You'll find me. Because I'm always active on there. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Keep sending me your podcast topic recommendations, what you want me to talk about in solo episodes, and also what guests you would like me to have on for guest episodes, and what you would like me to talk about with said guests, because every guest usually has a topic. Some are quite obvious, some aren't. So keep interacting with me, guys. If you need help on anything or you want any more questions answered, please do slide into my DMs. They are always open. If you want anything explaining more, that's fine. I would love to chat. And also, if you would like to be coached by me, my online coaching is happening. It is still going on. I'm loving it. I really enjoy it. And my clients are smashing it. And we are currently, setting people up for their New Year's goals, the things that they want to achieve with their dogs in agility during 2025, which is really exciting and really motivating. So if that's you and you have something you would like to achieve, or you would just like to get better in general and up yours and your dog's game, please do reach out to me. My online coaching inquiry form is in the link in my bio on Instagram at Paws in Pursuit, or you can just message me directly. And if you'd like to train with me, if you're in the DN21 area, or local enough that you'd be willing to travel, you can have in-person lessons with me, either the classes that I'll be running or one-to-ones. Again, just reach out if you're interested. And that is all from me, guys. I hope you all have a great, New Year's Day has ended by the time this is out. Okay, I hope you all have a great first week of 2025, and I wish you all the best for 2025. I know I'll be speaking to you every week, but just thought it was relevant. And also just thank you guys so much for supporting me in 2024. I think I forgot to say that in the 2024 wrapped episode 2 weeks ago. Oops, I'm a bad person. But yeah, I really appreciate all of you guys that regularly listen to the podcast and support it, and have left reviews and follow it and everything. It means the world to me, and everyone who contributes by asking questions and interacts on my stories and stuff like that on Instagram. I appreciate all of you. And yeah, that's my soppy moment done, really. But yeah, I will talk to you guys all next week at Wednesday on 8 p.m. On Wednesday at 8 p.m. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye-bye.